Hi everyone, this is Dr. Nitin Choda with Ignition Time and welcome to my channel. Thank you so much for being a viewer. Thank you so much for being a subscriber. I'm going to take a closer look at some of the additional comments that the President made during the press briefing tonight. The President made some remarks, spoke from a series of prepared remarks, but did not take any questions, and then the President left. The President said, and I quote, "If you count the legal votes, I easily win." And the President didn't specifically talk about what he meant there, but he did say, if you count the illegal votes, they can try to steal the election from us. So what the President has done is try and question the legitimacy of the election, the legitimacy of the result, and by extension, the legitimacy of the winner. Now, keep in mind that the President's lead is dwindling in both Georgia and Pennsylvania, and the President does indeed have a pathway to 270 electoral votes, but it is getting narrower as more and more votes come in. Now, keep in mind, before the counting began, we knew that there would be a lot of mail-in ballots because essentially there are mail-in ballots, there's early voting, and there's voting the day off. And what a lot of data has shown is that voting the day off tends to be predominantly Republican because because a lot of Republican voters, based on available data, have shown up to vote on the day off. And it seems that the data indicates, I'm saying it seems that the data indicates that a lot of the mail-in votes tended to be predominantly Democratic votes. And so the president's lead was dwindling as he was speaking, and the president said that he wanted a halt in counting of the votes that came in late. The president said, halt counting the votes that came in late, and the president went on to talk about races that had already been called for him. He said, I quote, "I've already decisively won many critical states, including massive victories." That is what the President of the United States said. Now, keep in mind that the President has indeed won many states, but the states of Michigan and Wisconsin essentially did not go his way. And it appears that his lead in Pennsylvania might be tightening, and Georgia is unexpectedly close, not to mention Arizona and Nevada. In both those states, at the time I'm recording this video, former Vice President Joe Biden has a lead. So unfortunately, the President has a lot of misgivings about the entire process. Let's roll the tape and see what the President had to say in additional comments during his press briefing tonight.
There are many instances which will be reported very shortly. There's tremendous litigation going on. And this is a case where they're trying to steal an election. They're trying to rig an election. And we can't let that happen. Detroit and Philadelphia, known as two of the most corrupt political places anywhere in our country, easily cannot be responsible for engineering the outcome of a presidential race, a very important presidential race. In Pennsylvania, Democrats have gone to the state Supreme Court to try and ban our election observers, and very strongly. Now, we won the case, but they're going forward. They don't want anybody in there. They don't want anybody watching them as they count the ballots. And I can't imagine why. There's absolutely no legitimate reason why they would not want to have people watching this process, because if it's straight, they should be proud of it. Instead, they're trying, obviously, to commit fraud. There's no question about that. In Philadelphia, observers have been kept far away, very far away, so far that people are using binoculars to try and see, and there's been tremendous problems caused. They put paper on all of the windows so you can't see in, and the people that are banned are very unhappy and become somewhat violent. The 11th Circuit ruled that in Georgia, the votes have been in by Election Day, that they should be in by Election Day, and they weren't. Votes are coming in after Election Day. And they had a ruling already that you have to have the votes in by Election Day. To the best of my knowledge, votes should be in by Election Day. And they didn't do that. Democrat officials never believed they could win this election, honestly. I really believe that. That's why they did the mail-in ballots, where there's tremendous corruption and fraud going on. That's why they mailed out tens of millions of unsolicited ballots without any verification measures whatsoever. And I've told everybody that these things would happen because I've seen it happen. I watched a lot of different elections before they decided to go with this big, massive election with tens of millions of ballots going out to everybody, in many cases totally unsolicited. This was unprecedented in American history. This was by design, despite years of claiming to care about the election security. They refuse to include any requirement to verify signatures, identities, or even determine whether they're eligible or ineligible to vote. People are walking in there. They have no idea. They're just taking numbers. They're writing down things, the workers, and doing a lot of bad things. And we have a lot of information coming and litigation that you'll see that will shake even you people up. And you've seen it all. The officials overseeing the counting in Pennsylvania and other key states are all part of a corrupt Democrat machine that you've written about. And for a long time, you've been writing about the corrupt Democrat machine. I went to school there, and I know a lot about it. It hasn't changed. It's a long time ago, and hasn't changed. It's gotten worse. In Pennsylvania, partisan Democrats have allowed ballots in the state to be received 3 days after the election. And we think much more than that. And they're counting those without even postmarks or any identification whatsoever. So you don't have postmarks, you don't have identification. There have been a number of disturbing irregularities across the nation. Our campaign has been denied access to observe any counting in Detroit.
Now, in the next segment, the president talks about the Supreme Court, what he calls the highest court in the land. The president talked about taking this fight to the Supreme Court. He talked about the entire Democratic, agenda, if you will, of trying to do something inappropriate with the vote. And remember, these are the views of the President of the United States. It is unfortunate that the President feels this way. It is unfortunate that we are even discussing this. I was hoping that that no one would cast doubt on the legitimacy of the election. But here you have the President of the United States suggesting in very strong words, as he often does, suggesting in very strong words that this entire election and the counting in many states which did not go his way need to be questioned, need to be litigated, and need to be taken up all the way to the Supreme Court. These are the views of the President of the United States. Let's roll the tape and see what the President had to say.
Detroit is another place, and I wouldn't say it has the best reputation for election integrity. Poll workers in Michigan were duplicating ballots, but when our observers attempted to challenge the activity, those poll workers jumped in front of the volunteers to block their view so that they couldn't see what they were doing. And it became a little bit dangerous. One major hub for counting ballots in Detroit covered up the windows again with large pieces of cardboard. And so they wanted to protect and block the counting area. They didn't want anybody seeing the counting, even though these were observers who were legal observers that were supposed to be there. In Detroit, there were hours of unexplained delay in delivering many of the votes for counting. The final batch did not arrive until 4 a.m. And even though the polls closed at 8 o'clock, so they brought it in, and the batches came in, and nobody knew where they came from. We've also been denied access to observe in critical places in Georgia. In multiple swing states, counting was halted for hours and hours on election night, with results withheld from major Democrat-run locations only to appear later. And they suddenly appeared, and they all had the name Biden on them, or just about all. I think almost all. They all had the name Biden on them, which is a little strange. I challenge Joe and every Democrat to clarify that they only want legal votes, because they talk about votes, and I think they should use the word legal votes. We want every legal vote counted, and I want every legal vote counted. We want openness and transparency, no secret count rooms, no mystery ballots, no illegal votes being cast after Election Day. You have Election Day, and the laws are very strong on that. You have an Election Day, and they don't want votes cast after Election Day, and they want the process to be an honest one. It's so important. We want an honest election, and we want an honest count, and we want honest people working back there, because it's a very important job. So that's the way this country is going to win. That's the way the United States will win. And we think we will win the election very easily. We think there's going to be a lot of litigation because we have so much evidence, so much proof, and it's going to end up perhaps at the highest court in the land. We'll see. But we think there'll be a lot of litigation because we can't have an election stolen like this. And I tell you, I have been talking about this for many months with all of you. And I've said very strongly that mail-in ballots are going to end up being a disaster. Small elections were a disaster. Small, very easy to handle elections were disastrous. This is a large-scale version, and it's getting worse and worse every day. We're hearing stories that are horror stories, absolute horror stories. And we can't let that happen to the United States of America. It's not a question of who wins, Republican, Democrat, Joe, myself. We can't let that happen to our country. We can't be disgraced by having something like this happen. So it will be hopefully cleared up, maybe soon, I hope soon, but it'll probably go through a process, a legal process. And as you know, I've claimed certain states, and he's claiming states, and we can both claim the states, but ultimately I have a feeling judges are going to have to rule. But there's been a lot of shenanigans, and we can't stand for that in our country. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much for watching, everybody. Let me know what you think about these unbelievable comments from the President of the United States, casting doubt on the legitimacy of the election. It is very unfortunate that we've come to this point, but this is where we are. This is an unbelievably close election. This is an unbelievably tight race. And I can understand that emotions are high, and I can understand that it is a tough situation. I want to be clear, for me, it's not about the red or the blue. It's about the red, white, and blue. I'm not Democrat. I'm not Republican. I'm American. I want us to be united. I want us to be together. And I want us to own this election, and I want us to move forward as a country. That's all I care for. It doesn't matter to me whether you're a supporter of President Trump or whether you supported former Vice President Joe Biden. I'm hoping that we can be united and that we can put all of this strife behind us, because we've had enough strife this year. We need to be able to move forward. And I think we need to make, this is the collective voice of the country. And I think a lot of Republicans, just to be clear, including Senate Majority Leader Mitch McConnell and many other Republican senators, have said, let's just count the vote. And that is what is happening as we speak. But let me know what you think of the president's comments below. Also, if you learned something new from this video, please consider clicking like. Please share the video with friends and family, and please subscribe to our channel, and please enable notifications.